Help support the show by joining the Patreon or becoming a YouTube member. Also, hit that like button and subscribe if you want more Browns-focused content. So the Browns fired Kevin Stefanski yesterday, and I've spent most of today kind of just surveying what people were saying, how the media was reacting. And, going into it, because, we had seen the Kevin thing on this channel, him being fired for the exact reasons he ended up being fired for. This was not a surprise to anybody. But when it happened, the reactions that I saw out there, they were surprising. And the feeling I had when I saw these reactions was also interesting, because what I observed and what I saw as a Browns fan, it made me feel disrespected. Like, it made me feel like it's another reminder that the people outside of Cleveland, they don't respect us. And there are a lot of Browns fans who, might not realize it, but don't even really respect themselves. And you can tell by the reaction to Kevin being fired and what people are telling you about how you should feel about Kevin being fired, because ultimately I believe it to be disrespectful. See, for weeks, the writing had been on the wall with Kevin. I think I do good work here, but other people do good work, and this is not something that only I saw coming. A lot of people saw this firing coming. This was not a surprise by any means. The writing had been on the wall for weeks. Hell, people in the mainstream media, especially during the Dylan Gabriel games, were actively calling for Kevin Stefanski to be fired, right? You guys remember that, right? I remember it. In October, people were calling for Kevin's job. You had Bruce Arians in the media talking about, I don't know how that guy's kept this job, right? You had the mass calling for Kevin Stefanski in October. Isn't it funny that that's what the environment was during the season when we were watching Kevin do his job? And then we get to the point to where there are consequences for that, and the Browns fire him in January. And then all of a sudden, a lot of those same talking heads, a lot of the same people in the national media are acting like it's the greatest tragedy on earth that the Cleveland Browns fired Kevin Stefanski. That the same people who were pushing for the Browns to fire Kevin in October, all of a sudden, see his worth and understand how good he's going to be with another team. And how stupid the Browns are for even thinking to get rid of Kevin Stefanski. The Browns are being made fun of for letting go of Kevin Stefanski, which I find interesting because, again, this was a decision that people cheerleaded a couple months ago. If the Browns were dysfunctional and would have fired Kevin during the season, some of these people would have been locked into actually having to defend this decision. But since the Browns did the functional thing and did not fire the coach at the end of the season, did not fire the coach in the middle of the season and had opted to wait to the end of the season, now people got something to say. It's interesting how that works. Where's Bruce Arians? Why isn't nobody calling Bruce Arians right now to get his opinion on what the Cleveland Browns just did? Y'all loved getting his opinion when it was time to get Kevin out the paint. Nobody's calling Bruce anymore. Ain't that interesting? Ain't that fucking something? All of a sudden, Kevin is a baby face. He ain't done nothing wrong. And he did nothing to deserve him being fired. Ain't it interesting how anybody that the Browns move off from, the media automatically acts like there was no reason for the Browns to ever move off of them in the first place? Baker Mayfield erasure. We're finally getting back to reality on that, by the way. But when Baker Mayfield, it was time for him to go, everybody acted like they didn't understand why it was time for Baker Mayfield to go. Right? All that shit that he did, 2019, 2021, everybody forgot it. Everybody forgot it. Only remembered the tail end of 2018 and 2020, act like none of the shit in between happened. Because the Browns decided to make a decision. And this goes back to the disrespect. See, The fucked up thing about this, and my bad, my apologies. I'm trying not to curse this. It's a work in progress. I'm a work in progress. You know what I mean? The messed up thing about all of this is I don't even think the people who are clowning the Browns for making this decision actually believe in Kevin Stefanski. Like, if you ask these people what they really think about Kevin, they don't think he's the next freaking Andy Reid. They think he's like the next Jeff Fisher or Marvin Lewis. Nobody is talking about how Kevin is such a good candidate that teams with head coaches should fire their head coach to get Kevin Stefanski, right? Like, if they truly thought that Kevin was like this amazing candidate that to come by, people would be talking about firing their coach to get to Kevin, right? Because how could this guy become available? How could Cleveland fumble so much, right? The narrative doesn't match what they're suggesting. What they're suggesting is that Kevin is a Jeff Fisher, is a Marvin Lewis. And again, this goes back to the disrespect, because what they are saying is not Kevin's a Super Bowl quality coach and somebody who can take you to where you need to, and the Browns are fools to let him go. No, that's not what they're saying. What they're saying is that Kevin is slightly above average, certainly has a ceiling, but you should be happy to have that ceiling if you're a Browns fan. How dare you not happy with something that's better than mediocre or mediocrity itself? That's the disrespectful part. They don't think the Browns fans deserve to try to seek anything better than mediocrity. And it shows every time they react to any decision that the Cleveland Browns make to try to extend themselves outside of mediocrity. When the Browns go and reach for Deshaun Watson because they're hoping that he takes them out of the mediocre spot, the slightly above average spot that Baker Mayfield was at quarterback, the Browns get ridiculed for even believing to have the hope that they could better themselves to that point. Other franchises do similar things, don't get shit on as much. You know, when the 49ers try to break out of mediocrity to try to find a superstar quarterback, people understand why that worked or did not work or crashed and failed, and they accept it for a team like the 49ers. When the Browns try to do it, it's like people get mad that the Browns are daring to even break out of that spot. How dare do the Cleveland Browns, the perennial losers, think that they deserve anything more than mediocrity? How dare do Browns fans think that they deserve more than mediocrity? It's disrespectful at the end of the day. They're disrespecting you at the end of the day. What they're saying when they say that Browns fans shouldn't be trying to get Kevin fired because he could get a job somewhere else, they're not saying that Kevin's an amazing coach. They're saying that you as a Browns fan deserve mediocrity, and if anything other than mediocre shows up for Cleveland, we should be thankful and bow at the feet of anything that we can get. We should eat the scraps with a smile on our fucking face and not even think about eating what other teams get to eat up there. No, we belong down here. When Browns fans express these exact same sentiments, right? Oh, we should be happy with Kevin. We shouldn't try to even get better. What if it gets worse? Those Browns fans have been beaten down so much that they actually believe that all they deserve is mediocrity. And they should be happy if they get anything that's even close to above mediocrity. Let alone, God forbid, we think that the Browns should deserve to get a championship. Every time I bring up the word championship, as if that's not the fucking goal for the football team, my bad. As if that's not the goal for the football team. And people go, what championship? How dare you even think about championship? You're a Browns fan. It's like, am I not allowed to want my team to achieve the highest goal that every other team is trying to achieve? But since it's the Browns, oh no, we don't deserve to even think that highly of ourselves. We don't deserve to have any kind of self-confidence or self-worth. This is really what the media has done to Browns fans. It's done it to Browns fans, the perception of it. They continually tell you and try to reinforce to you that you don't deserve greatness. Every time greatness comes to Cleveland, and this ain't even just the Browns, this is Cleveland in general. Have you noticed every time greatness is in Cleveland, people try to move that shit out of Cleveland as fast as possible because they don't think a city like Cleveland deserves greatness? LeBron James comes in there, they spend 7 years trying to pry that man out. He comes back, they spend the next 4 years trying to pry him back out of Cleveland. Myles Garrett, right? Everything in the media, everybody's trying to pry him out of Cleveland. Every time greatness touches Cleveland, everybody spends all their energy trying to get that shit out of Cleveland, because why would Cleveland deserve greatness? Have you ever noticed that? It's the constant disrespect. I've noticed it. I'm sick of it. We'll talk about it more after the break, but I got to thank my sponsor, Sleeper. Real quick, just want to let you guys know Sleeper has a new offer here. They're offering a free $20 entry, no deposit required. And also, if you're a first-time user, you also will receive a 100% match on up to $100 when you use the promo code WORSTTAKE. Again, $20 free, no deposit required. Plus, first-time users also receive 100% deposit match up to $100. Join Sleeper. I much rather would have my teams swing and miss trying to achieve greatness than have a team that is okay with mediocrity, right? Because ultimately your goal is not to be a fun, consistent team that wins 600% of their games. Well, not 600. That wins 60% of their games, but never really gets to a championship. That's not the goal, right? If you want to know what this goal gets you, right, when you achieve and when you strive for mediocrity, you end up being the fucking Guardians. And nobody's happy with the Guardians, despite the fact that the Guardians win the most in the city. Have you noticed that? The Guardians win the most in the city. That's the franchise that people are the least happy with in the city. You could call it foolishness, but I know why that's the case. It's because the Guardians don't commit themselves to actually trying to win a World Series. That they are the least committed team when it comes to money in this city to trying to win it all. Say what you want about the Browns, especially in the last 5 years. They have taken their swings to try to be great. They've missed. They've missed big with Deshaun Watson, but at least they fucking tried. You know what I mean? At least they went for it. The Cavs, say what you want about Dan Gilbert. Say what you want about Kobe Altman. They've taken swings to try to be a championship team. So people have some level of grace for those two teams, despite the fact that the results have not been as good. But then you look at the Guardians, and the reason nobody has any grace for them is because for 25 years, that franchise has proven they don't give a damn about winning a championship. They'll never take a swing at winning a championship, and they're quite content being mediocre, above average, slightly above average. There are some people who will defend it because, again, the media has beat down people in Cleveland so much that people think they deserve mediocrity, that all they can achieve and strive for is pure mediocrity. That hoping to achieve better than that is a sin. Like, you will see people, I sometimes talk about like trying to look at positive results, try to look past just being mediocre and trying to be a championship team over the long run. And people get mad at me like I'm sinning, right? Like it's a sin to believe that you deserve, as a Cleveland Browns fan, as a Cleveland sports fan, anything more than mediocrity. This is the energy that you get when the Browns let go of Kevin Stefanski. How dare the Browns let go of a chance to be mediocre in the hopes of being great? Who the fuck do the Browns think they are? You know, the Browns think they could be better than mediocre. They should be happy to be mediocre. They should be happy to win 5 games every year, or sometimes occasionally 11. We should be happy to have a low bar. We should be happy to have scraps. That's what they consistently tell you. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. If you have a team that plays in a major sports, you should be happy when they win the championship. You should want them to strive for the championship, because is that not the fucking goal? Why do you think people are so upset in Pittsburgh? That team's good every year, but they're frustrated because that team doesn't do what it takes to win a championship every year. They don't strive to win a championship. They strive to win 10 games. The Browns are not striving to win 10 games, for better or worse. Might blow up in their face. They truly are a team that wants to be great. They have not done a great job of doing it, obviously, but at least the desire is there. Jimmy Haslam spends a ton of money on the roster. He will spend a ton of money going forward on the roster. You can have your criticisms of Jimmy. Does he meddle too much? Does he not know what the talking about half the time? Yeah. Does Jimmy have bad impulses? Should Jimmy not be making decisions? Yeah. Yeah, I feel like Eddie Murphy and Dreamgirls. Jimmy got. But you know what Jimmy do got? You know what Jimmy do got? A desire to be great. And that desire will allow the Browns to at least take the swings that are necessary to try to break out of mediocrity. Nobody wants a sports team that's dedicated to mediocrity. You can try to tell yourself when shit's bad that you'd be happy with it, but then you get it and nobody's happy with mediocrity. What the outside world is trying to tell you is that that's what you deserve. That heaven for a Browns fan is purgatory. You know, they want Browns fans, they want Cleveland sports fans in general to fight through hell, but not to dare to think about going to heaven. You notice that? They think we should go through all of this shit to be happy with 8-8. Like, or playoff run every once in a while. Oh, yeah, here you just get the scraps. Get the scraps, Cleveland. How dare we think we should eat like Baltimore? How dare we think we should eat like Pittsburgh did in the early 2000s? How dare we think that we should eat like Kansas City? How dare we dream like that? We're just the Browns. We're meant to live in mediocrity, in poverty, and that's what we deserve. That's what they tell us. It's not true. The Browns deserve to be champions. The Browns deserve to win a Super Bowl. Browns fans deserve to be champions. Browns fans deserve to be Super Bowl champions. Cleveland fans deserve to be champions, deserve to feel like champions. We don't deserve mediocrity. We deserve to be able to strive for the best out there. And that's what I learned from the Kevin Stefanski thing. It's the same thing with Penn State, right? Penn State, they fired James Franklin because they can't get over the hump. And then everybody clowns the Penn State for firing James Franklin because, oh, how do you think you could be better than what you were with James Franklin? How could you strive to be greater than what you were with James Franklin? And like, yeah, there's a lot of people watching this video that are going to agree with that Penn State fans deserve mediocrity. But if you're a Penn State fan, that's not what you're thinking. You're thinking you deserve greatness. So you want to go for that. And if James Franklin is not going to bring you greatness and he's just going to bring you high-level mediocrity, then you got to move on. Yeah, I mean, Kevin wasn't even bringing us mediocrity at the end of the day. It was bad. People just think Kevin is capable of mediocrity. That's the crazy part to me. They're not convinced that Kevin's a great coach. They're just convinced that Kevin is a mediocre coach. And again, the definition for mediocre is above average. Like slightly above average. Not great, not bad. That's mediocre. That's what they think Kevin is. And they feel like the Browns should just be happy with that. How dare we think? It's the same thing with Baker Mayfield. How dare the Browns think they should be able to move on from Baker Mayfield? We should be happy with mediocrity. You know, if all the Browns could ever muster up is a couple of 10-win seasons, we should be fucking happy with that. We should be happy with 500. And some people buy into it because the teams have been so bad over the last 25 years that you convince yourself, no, I'm happy with 8-8. I'm happy never seeing a championship in my lifetime. Nobody is. You want your teams to strive for greatness. And the one thing I cannot criticize the Cleveland Browns for is that they have not been scared to make those moves. Have those moves worked out? Not yet. Okay. I'm praying one works out soon, but not yet. Certainly. But I at least respect that they're willing to make those moves. I respect that the Cavs are willing to go out and have some balls and trade for Donovan Mitchell. Wouldn't you wish the Guardians would have some balls and do something like that? Maybe the Guardians would have won a championship if they had some balls. You know, that's what I'm in it for. I'm in it for teams to try to win it. I'm not trying to watch a team that's so scared to make a mistake that they don't do shit. They just sit on their hands and hope they get a mediocre result, and maybe teams are bad enough to where they could slide through and maybe win it. That's not what I'm trying to see my teams do. So, yeah, is getting rid of Kevin, is that a riskier fire than most fires for the Browns? Sure. But did the Browns not run into a wall with Kevin Stefanski? Was it not evident that the Browns had run into a wall with Kevin Stefanski even in the successful years? Is Kevin Stefanski the best the Browns could ever do, possibly theoretically at head coach? Should the Browns not want to be better than they were with Kevin Stefanski? Is what Kevin Stefanski did the goal for the franchise ultimately? The answers to those questions ain't no and yes. Then it's time to move on. Look, I was a Kevin defender. I respect Kevin. I think Kevin will eventually become the coach that he needs to be, but he's not that right now. And the Browns need something better in order to get to where they want to dig themselves out of this hole. It's unfortunate, but it's the truth. See, I'm not going to sit here and try to convince you, like a lot of talking heads in the national media, and maybe even some people in the local media, that you should be happy with mediocrity. That you should stop at mediocrity, because why dare better to that? I want the Cavs to win a championship. I want the Guardians to win a championship. I want the Browns to win a Super Bowl. And you're not going to do that being okay with mediocrity. And that's what pissed me off about the reaction to it. It's not that people were putting some respect on Kevin's name. I put respect on Kevin's name any day of the week. I respect him as a coach. It's that they clearly did not have a high level of respect for Kevin. And yet, they're still trashing the Browns for letting go of him. Not because they respect Kevin, but because they don't respect you. That's the part that pissed me off. They don't think you deserve anything other than what you're getting. I just wanted to get that one off my chest. Let me know how you're feeling in the comment section down below. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.